A non-profit news agency has just released a second list of people who own paper companies overseas, following the first list released last week. The list certainly raises some eyebrows as it includes prominent tycoons and current and former board members of conglomerates. Yoo Li-an reports.
Newstapa is the non-profit news agency responsible for last week's release of the 245 Koreans who own paper companies abroad. And they released a second list of 7 offenders on Monday. The 7 are the heads of major conglomerates or incumbent or former board members, including the head of Hanjin Shipping Holding Co, the former executive of an affiliate of Hanwha Group, and the vice chairman of SK Securities. Upon the release of these names, the company's shares lost ground, with Hanjin Shipping Holding Co losing by the biggest margin of over 4%.
The public has the right to know about the leaders of society secretly creating paper companies in tax havens.
A recent report by the online conglomerate tracker Jaebol.com showed that the conglomerates hold 5.7 trillion won, or roughly $5 billion in offshore affiliates. Hanwha Group held the most assets abroad at $1.5 billion, followed by SK Group at $1.1 billion and Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering at $700 million. Most of these companies were found to be in Panama, the Cayman Islands, and the British Virgin Islands, areas well known as tax havens. Whether all of the foreign branches are paper companies is yet to be confirmed, and the investigation is ongoing. But what we do know so far is that more than half of these companies have no history of any transactions. In other words, they're most likely shell companies that hold slush funds to avoid taxes.
Offshore tax evasion is highly systemized and globalized. This cannot be controlled by a country's taxing authorities, but requires global cooperation.
Korea's National Tax Service is currently looking into some 20 Koreans who were on last week's list, and the agency looks set to launch further investigations into the officials on the list released Monday. Yoo Li-an, Arirang News.